Hello animal lovers, my name is Dr. Lopez. I'm an emergency veterinarian, and today we're talking about one of our most requested topics, which is euthanasia. Towards the end of this video, we will be showing video footage of an actual euthanasia of one of my own patients. We'll give a warning before that, but just be advised, in the emergency room there are a lot of really difficult and important lessons to be learned. And so on our channel, we share a lot of these experiences with the hope that we can help other pet owners out there, especially for those of you who have an older pet or a pet with cancer, a terminal illness, something like that. A lot of times the fear of the unknown can be worse than the actual reality. And in our clinic, we try to make the process as peaceful and gentle as possible. No matter what, it's always hard. If you've had to go through a euthanasia with your pet, or if this is a decision that you're struggling with, watching this video and talking about this topic can be very difficult for a lot of people. I know it was for me, and that's why it took us so long to make this video. So take care of yourself. If you need to stop, pause, take a break, use your own judgment. We're only sharing information because we are hoping to help people. I think a lot of people don't realize the prevalence of mortality in the veterinary profession. I know currently in our clinic now, about 15% of our patients either die or are euthanized. And in a critical care unit where I worked previously, where everything was referred for more serious problems from other veterinarians even flown in, our case fatality rate ranged anywhere between 20 and 25%. So there were many days, sometimes multiple days in a week, where 3, 4, sometimes more of my patients would die or be euthanized. So I think as a pet owner, it's really important to realize that when you're walking into your veterinary appointment, if your veterinarian's running behind, be kind to them too, because a lot of times what you don't know is maybe earlier in the day, multiple times in the day, your veterinarian and the staff have had to go through some very difficult things. And no matter how many times you do it, it's always hard, it always takes a toll, it's always very sad. The purpose of euthanasia is to end suffering for our patients. And there are times when it feels like it's the right thing to do, especially if you have an older patient or a patient with very severe advanced disease with very limited treatment options, geriatric patients, patients with cancer, other illnesses that have a poor prognosis with treatment, or because of other underlying disease conditions, it's just too much to put them through. Euthanasia is a way that we can allow them to pass away peacefully in the presence of their family without having to endure a lot of suffering. The reality of the situation is that there are a lot of patients that are euthanized for other reasons too. A lot of times it can actually cause more suffering to the family and to the veterinary team. My hope is that by discussing this, we can help to prevent euthanasias for reasons that people might regret later. In my career as a veterinarian, I have ended the lives of hundreds, if not thousands, of animals as part of my job description. And some of these, it felt like it was the only thing I could do to really help the patient. These situations of older pets or patients with terminal illness that are suffering, and we just really can't do much to keep them comfortable anymore. In those situations, it feels like the right thing, and even then it's sad. But there are other situations where, as veterinarians, it really doesn't feel like the right thing, and I really want to talk about some of these too. One of the most common reasons is cost concerns, and this is huge. It's extremely, extremely common. Most pet owners are not prepared for the financial reality of medical care, especially if something serious has happened, especially in situations where surgery is needed. So there are a lot of situations where we'll have a young, otherwise healthy pet with a whole life ahead of them facing a major medical problem. And simply put, the cost of the medical care is a huge shock for these owners. They've never had an emergency. They've never had anything serious happen with their pets. Growing up, they didn't learn that the cost of medical care for pets is a considerable expense, and they are unprepared for it. They're very shocked, highly emotional. And when something like this happens, it is catastrophic. Sometimes these are life-threatening situations where the owners are required to make decisions without very much time, and it happens all the time. It's a decision that you never want to have to make. For us as doctors, we just want to save our patients. We want to help them. We want to give them the medical care that they need. But at the end of the day, the patient's guardians are the ones making these decisions. If an owner is unable to afford medical care and we're unable to find an alternative solution, then that's a corner that we get backed into. And if you're euthanizing a young patient for a medical condition that could potentially be treated or cured simply because of cost concerns, it doesn't feel good. As the family making those decisions, there can be years or even a lifetime of guilt associated with that. Even a broken arm or leg in a pet usually requires surgery, and that can be thousands of dollars. And something more serious like getting hit by a car or ingesting a poison or needing surgery for a foreign body or even a herniated disc, that can be many, many thousands of dollars. And these are common reasons why pets are euthanized. So the best piece of advice I can give is don't ever put yourself in that situation. Make sure that before you get a pet, that you're financially prepared for the worst case scenario so that you don't have to make life or death decisions based on cost. In most cases, that means having good medical insurance. Pets are also euthanized for behavioral reasons as well. It's really common. A lot of these behavioral diseases, if you intervene early enough, you can prevent the disease from progressing so far that it becomes a life or death problem. For me, the behavioral euthanasias have always been the more difficult ones. I have always felt like in some way we failed these patients, even if it felt like it was the only option left. So if you have a pet that has behavioral problems like house soiling or aggression, now is your time to intervene, to speak with a behaviorist, to work with your veterinary team to try to correct this problem before it gets so bad that people feel like they don't have any other choice. I've never had to do shelter euthanasias, but a lot of my colleagues have, and simply too high volume of pets coming in and not enough resources and not enough adoptions. There are almost 2 million pets in the US and Canada every year that are euthanized in shelters. That's about 5,000 pets euthanized every day in shelters because we have a surplus of pets being bred every year, either intentionally or unintentionally, relative to the number of good long-term forever homes that we have for those pets. So if you're thinking about purchasing a pet from a breeder, I do encourage you, save a life. You can find any purebred pet on death row from a kill shelter or rescue. So if you want a Pomeranian or whatever, a lab, just research all of the different rescues for the breed that you want or for the kill shelters and try to find yourself a pet that fits your lifestyle. Finally, there are a lot of dogs and cats as well as many other animals that are part of animal research. I worked for many years in biomedical research and I was responsible for terminating the lives of the research animals. Most research studies involving animals are terminal, which means that they're killed at the end. I think it's really important to realize that every medication you take, every piece of biomedical equipment and technology has at some phase undergone testing on animals, and at the end of those studies, those animals did lose their lives. On most of the projects, there are mice that are killed, but on some of these projects, it's non-human primates like monkeys, very intelligent animals, dogs, even wild-caught animals like wild squirrels and things like that. And those are some projects that I was involved in when I was younger in a cancer research lab and many others. And most of the animals that I was responsible for killing as part of my job were mice. And the methods are definitely a little bit less humane than what we use in our emergency room. Things like CO2 chambers, decapitation, and cervical dislocations. So every time you take a medication or you undergo a medical procedure, there's a part of you that should be grateful to the animals that lost their lives for you to be able to receive that technology. So with that said, When euthanasia is chosen for the right reasons, there's really nothing to be afraid of. We give the family the option of being present. Most people are. We try to make the procedure as gentle and peaceful as possible. I will typically start by giving the patient medications to help reduce any anxiety or discomfort they might be experiencing, to help them relax. Then we'll place an IV catheter, and then we will administer anesthetic medications, just like we would for any healthy patient undergoing surgery. And when they're under a surgical plane of anesthesia, we'll basically administer more anesthetics, and that will essentially turn everything off. The patient will usually just go to sleep very peacefully. I'm guessing that if you found this video, you're searching for this topic, and so I just want to say that you're not alone, that this is something that we all have to go through. And even for those of us who have to go through it a lot, it's always hard. And so just be gentle and kind to yourself and to others. And if there's anything at all that you want to know, please just leave your questions and comments below. I'll leave some other links as well in the description below. Thank you for joining us, and take care.